Hello, everyone. This is David Lane. You're listening to Life in the Pit. I wanted to come on to offer a coda to the previous episode because there is relevant news. I wouldn't call it breaking because I'm probably several hours after the fact and getting to the microphone to record on this. If you missed the previous episode number 77, I was talking to New York music director and keyboardist Jason Loffredo about what has been an ongoing issue with the David Byrne musical Here Lies Love wanting to open on Broadway in the Broadway Theater using only pre-recorded tracks. And this in spite of the fact that it was in a theater where the union rules required a minimum of 19 musicians. And so this was it was a very heated confrontation going on between the local 802 AFM union and the production team of Here Lies Love. As I talked about on episode 77, one of the big worries here is if the production team got their way and completely circumvented the rules, that we were worried about the type of precedent that could set in the future. And that could be really an accelerated danger for pit musicians on Broadway, if you want to really stretch it out. So I just want to come on to read this. This is from today. I'm recording this Friday night on June 9th, and this is from earlier today from BroadwayWorld.com. This article was written by A.A. Christie, and the headline reads, Here Lies Love will add 12 local 802 musicians to the Broadway production. Subcaption reads, Here Lies Love begins performances at the Broadway Theater on Saturday, June 17th. And then here's the article. Broadway's Here Lies Love and the AFM Local 802 Musicians Union have reached an agreement on the issue of orchestra size for the production. According to recently released statements from both camps, the production will open on Broadway with 12 union musicians in its pit. The statement from the union reads, quote, After negotiation, we have reached an agreement that will bring live music to Here Lies Love with the inclusion of 12 musicians to the show. Broadway is a very special place with the best musicians and performances in the world, and we are glad that this agreement honors that tradition, end quote. A statement from the show's producers reads, quote, On behalf of our entire cast, company, and creative team, we have reached an agreement with Musicians Union Local 802, per the collective bargaining agreement. We look forward to welcoming audiences to experience the revolutionary musical experience that is Here Lies Love at the Broadway Theater beginning on Saturday, June 17th, end quote. The article goes on to say, the minds behind the production originally planned to open the show using pre-recorded music, as well as 3 actor musicians and a musical director. The choice to use pre-recorded tracks was met with swift backlash, as the move would undermine the union's hiring mandate for Broadway houses. The show's home, the Broadway Theater, typically adheres to a minimum of 19 musicians hired per production. And then there's the rest of the article just lists who's credited as far as some production team and cast, and you can find that on BroadwayWorld.com. I encourage you to go read that. So just some brief thoughts on that. I am not in the know, so I don't know what was said. But without knowing the details, and even knowing that this is obviously a compromise, because they're going to open with 12 musicians instead of 19, this can't be called anything less than a victory at this point. When you consider the alternative, there are going to be 12 live musicians in the pit. Now, I do have a question, and it was raised by my guest Jason on the previous episode, of how they are preparing for that. I mean, are their orchestrators working around the clock to get that music ready? Not quite sure how they're doing it unless they have something in the vault from earlier when there was live music in the workshops, but that is a question I don't have an answer to. I do wish them well, though, if they have to break their necks or hurry up like crazy to get this show ready. But I think even they would say that this is worth it. We did not want a situation where a production team led by a pretty world famous composer, producer, to say, even though your union rules state this about live musicians, we're willing to ignore that and take our chances in court. That might be a problem someday, but at least it will not be a problem for this production. So I, for one, am thankful for this resolution. Now, I can't promise after I release this that there won't be something that comes out that makes this news better or makes it worse. This is just a snapshot because we spent so much time talking about the conflict on episode 77. I wanted to record an episode to at least report, for those of you who hadn't read the Broadway World article, that there is a resolution, or at least it strongly appears that there's a resolution. So I hope that this is the case. So this is just a bonus episode. Well, earlier today, I did record my interview that'll be featured on episode 78. I'm planning to have that ready in 2 weeks for June 23rd. So that will be a really enjoyable episode because it was a very fun conversation. So check your feeds, your podcast feeds on June 23rd. And of course, I'll be reminding you about it on Instagram and Facebook. Again, this is just a really short episode, so I can just make a couple of quick edits and then send it out. You'll get this Friday night in your feeds. And thank you so much. I've gotten a lot of feedback through comments of the previous episode. And I greatly appreciate, if I forget to say, I greatly appreciate the support of all of you listeners who take an interest in pit musicians. And this was an important topic, and I really hope the news is as good as it seems. So thank you for everything, and I'll be back with you again very soon.